Hello champions, welcome back to another math session. We are on day 2 of rounding, but today we've bumped it up a little bit. So today for rounding, we're going to round to both the tens and hundreds, and the numbers we're going to be working with are going to be to the hundreds place. So making it a little bit more difficult. I kept the same information. Maybe you started to notice where rounding can be important in everyday life. I challenge you to maybe ask your parent, when is a situation that they would possibly round, and let me know on Zoom tomorrow what they say. Alright, we also have the same information except I added one more thing. So we're still going to use the same steps. You underline the place, circle right next door. So you go to the number to the right. You ask yourself this very important question. If that circled number is greater than or equal to 5, you round up. But today I want you to watch out for the tricky nines. So when I say tricky nines, I mean when there's two nines next to each other, like 99. 99 is a number in the tens place, 9 tens and 9 ones. But if we were to round this number, it's between 90, and then it bumps up to the next place value, 100. So that's what's tricky about it, is sometimes the double nines will bump you up to the next place value. Because that 9 is bigger than 5, it would round up to 100. So watch out for those tricky nines. All right, let's practice. So today we're going to be rounding numbers to tens and hundreds. So let's try this number, 158. And let's round that number to the tens place. So this time I've added an extra place value. So let's find the tens place today. This number has 100, 5 tens, and 8 ones. So I'm going to underline the tens place, check. Circle right next door, which would be the ones. I'm going to, that's going to tell me what to do. Before I do that, let's look and see which two tens this number is between. So, one thing you might want to do is notice that because we don't have any tricky nines, the hundreds place is going to stay the same. Okay? So it's going to stay 100 and 100. So now let's look at these two digits here, 58. Just think of it as 58. So what two tens would 58 be between? It would be between 50 and 60. So the number 158 would be between 150 and 160. So let's look at the circled number. The circled number is 8. Is 8 greater than or equal to 5? Yes, it is, so we would round up to 160. Let's try another number. This time, I'd like you to pause the video and try real fast, and then you can check our work. So let's do the number 204. All right, we're still going to round to the tens on this one. So let's find the tens place. This number has 2 hundreds, 0 tens, and 4 ones. So the tens place is right here, so underline the place. Circle right next door, which would be the ones. And that number is going to tell us what to do. Before we get to there, we're going to look at which two tens this number is between. So again, do we see any tricky nines? No. So the hundreds place, see how it's not underlined or circled? Well, it's going to stay the same. I'm just going to put in 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom. So now, let's look at the tens and ones. Well, really, I just have the number 4. So what two tens is the number 4 between? Well, it's between nothing, or 0. We have to add another placeholder here. And it's between 10. I had to add 0 here because you can't have an empty space. So I had to add 2 zeros. So the number 204 is between 200 and 204 is between 200 and 210. So let's look at the circled number. The circled number is 4. Is 4 greater than or equal to 5? No. So we round down to 200. All right, we're going to do one more. So let's do 399. So I'd like you to pause the video here and see if you can set up the whole entire problem. Okay, so pause the video and we'll go over the answer together. Okay, I hope you paused it, and now we're going to double check and see if you got the right answer. So we're going to underline, oh, we're still doing to the tens. Hopefully you were able to do that. But if not, it's okay, so just pause it here and do the tens place. So let's underline the place. 399 has 3 hundreds, 9 tens, and 9 ones. So 9 is in the tens place. Circle right next door. 9 is in the ones place. Alright, so then we're going to figure out which numbers they're between. So in this case, we cannot just assume the hundreds is going to stay 3, because we do have tricky 9s. So let's look at it. Okay, it is going to stay a 3 on the bottom. Okay, because it's going to stay in the 300s. It's always can't go down to 200. That's not how it works. Either stays the same or bumps up. So let's write the tens place here. So 99. 99 would be between 90, and technically it would be between 100, right? But we can't write 100. But what we can do is add 300 plus this 100. And guess what that equals? 400. So our options are 390 or 400. You can take out this number now. So I had to bump it up to the next hundreds place. Okay, so that's why these tricky 9s can sometimes be confusing. So now we have circled the 9. Is the 9 greater than or equal to 5? Yes. We round up to 400. How'd you guys do on that one? I know that one was a little bit tricky. All right, we're going to continue with numbers to the hundreds, but this time we're going to round to the hundreds. So let's do the number 115. Okay, so this time we're round to the hundreds. So the number 115 has 100, 110, 5 ones. So here's the hundreds place. We're going to circle right next door, which this time would be the tens place. Okay, now you notice this time, which digit are we not dealing with? We're not dealing with the ones this time, okay? So let's see how that affects the problem. So this time, we have 115. So let's look at the underlined place. It's either going to stay a 100 or bump up to the next 100, which would be 200. Those are your only two options if we round to the hundreds. Okay, so the 5 here we actually don't need. It doesn't matter to us in the problem, so you can go ahead and cross it out. We only need the circled number and the underlined number. So the circled number is the number 1. Is 1 greater than or equal to 5? No. Since we said no, this number rounds down to 100. All right, I want you to try this one. Number 100, actually, let's do 389. So, pause and see if you can set it up. If you need help setting it up, you can still keep us going, but pause and just try if you can. So, let's go through the steps. 389 has 3 hundreds, 8 tens, and 9 ones. Remember, we're rounding to the hundreds, capital H. So let's underline the hundreds place. We're going to look right next door to the tens. We do not need the 1, so I'm going to go ahead and just give it a little cross out. So I know I don't really need it. The 9's not going to be there to trick me. So which two hundreds is the number 300? There's a 3 between. We're just looking at the hundreds place. So it's either going to stay at 300 or bump up to 400. Only two options, okay? So since we're going to look at the circled number, is the circled number greater than or equal to 5? Yes, so it's going to round up. How'd you guys do? Did you get 400? All right, let's try one more. We're still going to round to the hundreds. I'm going to give you the number 63. Wait a minute, Miss Sutherland. The number 63 is not a number to the hundreds place. You're right. It's only a number to the tens place, but we can still round this number. So technically there's nothing in the hundreds place. What did we use the other day as a placeholder? Remember we talked about there is a digit we can use. If you said 0, you are correct. So this number has nothing in the hundreds place, but you can put a 0 there as a placeholder. So this number, let's go through the steps first. Underline the place, we did. There's nothing there. Circle right next door. And we're going to try to see which two hundreds it's between. Well, it's either going to stay nothing. I'm just going to put 3 zeros to prove a point. Remember, they're placeholders, so it doesn't matter. Or it can bump up to be 100. Those are the only two options. Sometimes rounding down to this part right here can be tricky. Let's look at the circled number. Is that number greater than or equal to 5? It is. So 62 would round up to 100. Alright, now it's your turn. So I have some independent problems for you that I'd like you to try. The first 4 say round the following numbers to the nearest tens place. So notice they're all to the hundreds, but you're going to round to the tens. The next 4 problems are going to say round to the nearest hundred. So make sure you're rounding to the right place. So here are your hundreds, ones you're going to round to, all 4 of them. And then I've given you a challenge. I would like you to round these 2 numbers to the hundreds place. So look at the last one we did if you're having trouble with the challenge. So make sure you try these problems, and we're going to go over them together in Zoom. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.